Good evening. I'd like to call the February 4th, 2025 Village Board meeting to order. Trustee Lundy, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Tracy.
President Cohen.
Here.
Trustee Michaels.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Trustee Lindy.
Here.
Trustee Herron.
Here.
Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
Trustee Shomas.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum this evening. First item up, we do have to move into executive session. So I'm going to ask the board for a motion to move to executive session for the Open Meetings Act exception to discuss the appointment or dismissal of legal counsel for the Village of Sugar Grove. And then we will return from executive session to open session and take action under appointments as well as general business.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have
Second.
I have a first on Trustee White, second on Trustee Shomas. Roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Shomas.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy.
Aye.
Trustee Herron.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. We'll be right back. Okay. I have 6:07. The board has returned from executive session. I have you do roll call again, please, Tracy.
President Cohen.
Here.
Trustee Michaels.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Trustee Lindy.
Here.
Trustee Herron.
Here.
Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
Trustee Shomas.
Here.
Thank you all. We do have a quorum. Still. Nothing under public hearings this evening. Under appointments and presentations, I'd ask for a motion to appoint Vasily Law as the attorney for the Village of Sugar Grove.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first out of Trustee Lindy, second out of Trustee White. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Lindy.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Herron.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Shomas.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0, unanimous. Congratulations. I would ask Mr. Vasily to come to the dais and take his seat.
No.
Sir, this is your spot.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, I'm sorry.
Just point of clarification, do we need to take any action dismissing the current attorneys or the former attorneys for the...
I don't believe we do, Trustee. It's an excellent question, Trustee. I'm sorry.
No,
Madam
you go
Chair,
ahead.
may I
No,
respond?
you're right in there. Go ahead.
I do not believe we do. They did send a letter that I have acknowledged because they sent it out to a bunch of different municipal firms as well, that they were closing their practice group. So I know that they had done an extensive amount of work for the village, and I think the village is satisfied with their services. I'm sure you thank them for their service, but I do not believe there's any need to go forward with any formal removal. The replacement under Illinois municipal law serves to push out someone else. So this act, if the engagement letter is done, fully perfected, I don't see a problem with it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee.
Okay. Okay, up next, I have a proclamation.
I'm sorry. Does James want to introduce himself and
Oh,
the
sure.
current? I
You want to sit
apologize.
here?
I apologize. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
It's just, you know, they're here and some of the trustees.
Let's go
have-
through your firm.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Thank you. You did.
Madam Chair, if I may.
You may.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Trustee.
Sorry.
My name is James Vasselli, and I am here with two of my partners who are sitting in the front row over here tonight. We founded a municipal law firm not too long ago, but we all have at least 20 years of municipal law or related law experience.
I'm just checking it.
It's my first night, everybody, so I'll be here all week. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not.
No, you just
Is it on?
Testing syllabus.
It must have turned off.
Okay.
Hold it in.
Yeah, hold it.
Hello?
So
Hello?
it's not-
Hello? Wow, this is-
Hold on. Oh, there you go. Here you go. Here you go.
Please don't go back into closed session. So let me start again. My name is James Baselli. I am here with two of my partners, Michael and Amalia, and I'll give you a little bit of background on them as well. We started a municipal law firm, each having at least 20 years approximately of either local government experience or governmental experience, but we each also have our own specific background in law. And I'll get into their experience as well as my own. And I don't want to keep anybody here any longer than we necessarily need to, but we are a full-service firm. We do everything from administrative law to zoning law. We have a litigation department. We cover board meetings, as we are tonight, and zoning hearings, and do real estate contracts and franchise agreements and everything that a municipal lawyer and law firm normally does. We are now 8 lawyers. We represent 13 different municipalities as special counsel or general counsel. We also have a number of private clients such as developers and or small corporations and one actually sizable bank. And so again, I'm James Baselli. I am here with Amalia Rioja, who is an expert in employment and labor law and Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information Act issues. The Open Meetings Act was the initial public access counselor for the state of Illinois. Michael Garrigan is seated next to her left, and Michael brings a great deal of experience with community development, economic development, in addition to being a lawyer for in excess of, well, for many years. I don't want to age anybody, but I won't age Amalia or Michael or myself, but I couldn't be prouder of the team that we've built. There are, like I said, we are a full service law firm and we look forward to working with you. I don't know if there's anything you guys want to add. I don't. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you all.
For being here. Great idea, by the way, so, thank you. Okay, up next. I have a proclamation declaring February 16th, 2025 through February 22nd, National Engineers Week in the village of Sugar Grove. So I'd like to read this proclamation as we have our engineering house tonight. Whereas engineers use their scientific and technical knowledge and skills in creative and innovative ways to fulfill society's needs. And whereas engineers face the major technological challenges of our time, from rebuilding towns devastated by natural disasters, cleaning up the environment, and ensuring safe, clean, and efficient sources of energy, to designing information systems that will speed our country into the future. And whereas engineers are encouraging our youth, math, and science students to realize the practical power of their knowledge. And whereas we look more than ever to engineers and their knowledge and skills to meet the challenges of the 21st century. Now therefore, I, Jennifer Conan, President of the Village of Sugar Grove, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and its citizens, proclaim the week of February 16th through the 22nd, 2025, to be Engineers Week in the Village of Sugar Grove, Illinois, dated this day, the 4th of February, 2025. So I'm going to give this to you, Brian, because you deserve this. So congratulations. You want to do a picture? This would be a good use of our flyer. All right. Thank you. Next year. Oh, all right. Can I get a motion to approve the engineer's proclamation?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. First up, trustee Harris, second number trustee Shomas. Roll call, Tracy.
Trustee Harris?
Aye.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy? Aye. Trustee Bennett?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Up next, airport report. Tony.
No report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Tony? Hearing none, we'll close that portion. Up next, public comment on scheduled action items. This evening under consent agenda, I have A, approval of the January 21st, 2025 board meeting minutes, B, approval of the vouchers, C, a resolution, publication of the 2025 official zoning map for the Village of Sugar Grove, Under general business this evening, we have a resolution approving an agreement with Vasily Law to provide attorney services for the Village of Sugar Grove. Item B, an ordinance amending the Village Code Title 12, Chapter 11 subdivision regulations for the engineering manual. Item C, an ordinance approving the Village of Sugar Grove engineering manual. And that is it under action items this evening. So if you have a public comment on any of those items, you're welcome to come to the podium for 3 minutes. Going once. Going twice. Okay, 3 times, we'll close that portion. Okay, any requests for removing items from consent agenda? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as previously stated?
As stated.
Thank you.
Second.
First out of trustee Shoma, second out of trustee Herring. Roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee Thomas.
Aye.
Trustee Herron.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy. Aye. Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 6-0. Up next, the resolution approving an agreement with Vasily Law to provide attorney services for the Village of Sugar Grove.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a first out of trustee White, second out of trustee Bonnie. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Did you say second was Bonnie?
Bonnie?
Yep.
Trustee White.
Thank you.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy. Aye. Trustee Herron.
Aye.
Trustee Thomas.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0, unanimous appointment. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You don't know what you got yourself.
Up next, we have the ordinance amending the Village Code Title 12, Chapter 11 subdivision regulations. Dan, we've got Brad and Danny. They tag team in this one.
Okay, so this has already been previously discussed by the village board. The village wishes to remove all of the engineering standards that are currently tied up in our village code and the subdivision chapter of our village code. So we held a public hearing with the plan commission for a text amendment that would remove all of the subdivision regulations from the village code, and ultimately will adopt a separate engineering manual. The purpose for this is because anytime that our engineers need to update a standard that is in our engineering code section, we have to do a public hearing with the text amendment. It's a long process, even for third-party standards that we have no control over that change. So the ordinance you have before you, first off, is the text amendment that ultimately removes all of the subdivision regulations from our village code. Staff is requesting that you approve the ordinance amending the village code Title 12, Chapter 11 of the subdivision regulations.
Thank you, Danny. Any discussion?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by out of trustee White and the second out of trustee Herron. Roll call, please.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Herron.
Aye.
Trustee Michaels.
Aye.
Trustee Lundy. Aye. Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee Thomas.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. And then this is the actual ordinance approving the village engineer manual. So I guess I'll turn this over to Brad and Brian.
Yes, and there's 3 changes that we need to
Slide.
approve this with these 3 changes, and that's on page 22, item 2B, under installation. This pertains to streetlight stuff like that, underground wiring. So there was a typo where it should say 1/2 inch galvanized rigid steel, but it's 1.5 inch galvanized steel.
So for clarification,
Yeah.
it's not page 22 of the board member's packet.
Yes.
It is page 22 of the manual, which is actually page 45 of
Thank
the
you.
text.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Is it 45?
Yes,
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the change, Brad?
It's where it says conduit under 2E,
Yep.
it should be 1.5 inch galvanized. It says 1 1/2 inch, but then it says, it's just a typo.
Yeah, so 1.5 inch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, also under 2B, line drop, the wire used to be number 6, but now it's number 8 because of the lower voltage requirements for LED, or the lower amperage.
Okay.
And then that's also repeated back here on, It's page 25 for us, I'm not sure what the one is.
We got it, I got it, you're still marked, yeah.
Under B, the wire is also called out as number 6 there, it should be number 8.
What item, under B?
B, yeah,
Okay,
wire.
is going to 8?
So B 48, page 48.
Yeah, page 25 for me, so.
Oh, this beat.
Just the 3 of those changes?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, everything else is good. We've discussed this with you previously. Yeah.
I'd also ask that this be approved subject to attorney review. While our previous village attorney has reviewed this, I would like to run a couple things past Vasily just to make sure.
Are there any things that were called out by the village board that you'd like to bring to the attention or have questions for staff?
I apologize, I didn't review your response to me. What about the curb, are we?
It was in there.
It's mentioned in here, it's for all residential, we do use the modified curve.
Oh,
Yeah.
And for residential local street, we do require, it's our first option is the executive line.
okay, thanks.
Could you detail what the questions were for everybody and go through the answers?
Sean asked if we were going to continue to use a modified roll curve in the residential areas. Yes, that's still in there. The other question was if we were still going to not require, but the first option would be the decorative streetlight poles for the residential areas, and that is still in there.
They're still in there.
Good. Any other questions or discussion? Can I get a motion to approve the ordinance approving the Village of Sugar Grove engineering manual subject to attorney review with the following changes? Under item on page 22, installation, item B, under line drop, changing from number 6 to number 8 on the wire size. Under item E, the conduit is supposed to be marked 1.5 inches instead of 1/2 inch. And then the third change is on page 25 of the manual, under item B, wire, the same change, cable size shall be changed from number 6 to number 8.
So moved.
Thank you, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first out of trustee Herring, second out of trustee Shomas. Roll call, please, Tracy. Herring and Shomas.
Trustee Aaron?
Aye.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee White? I'm sorry, Trustee Michaels?
Aye.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Rodney?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 6-0. Okay, up next, we have public comment, any and all items of course, but we additionally have under discussion this evening, we have the item A, the Settlers Ridge rear load architectural approval, item B, tax amendment for civic uses in PUD, item C, commercial property enhancement program, item D, the land cash donation ordinance. So those are additional things we'll be discussing this evening. So if you have a public comment, you have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice, 3 times, we'll close that portion. Okay. Danny, up next, the Settlers Ridge rear load architectural approval, although it's not getting approved here. So it's going to be discussed.
The village has received inquiry or request for architectural approval from Ryan Homes. They are about to purchase 41 lots that are rear loaded in the first phase of Settlers Ridge. Part of the process for this is for the village board to approve the architecture for all of the homes built in Settlers Ridge. You have in your packet attached what they're proposing for architecture. You did receive an email from me today, a letter of support from the HOA. Staff is requesting that you discuss the proposed architecture and direct us on next steps of preparing an ordinance for approval, or resolution.
And the board does have the Settlers Ridge letter at the dais for
Yes.
you all to review. Okay, Scott, looks like you have something.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Okay. Everybody likes to rub the meeting tonight. All right, anyway. Any questions or discussion? I do have one question. If the board has anything, I'll let you go first.
We don't have anyone from Ryan Homes or the Homeowners Association here tonight, do we? I'm here.
Okay. Do you have
Which
a
group are you representing? I'm with Ryan Homes. Oh, wonderful. I know driving around that subdivision that a lot of the rear load homes that are on corner lots have patios to give, wraparound porches on the front and side to give a little more of an architectural feature, since that's also viewable from the street. So it looks like there's at least a handful of lots here that are corner lots. I was wondering if that was going to be offered to prospective homeowners as an additional option on any of those, and is that something we would have to pre-approve at this point in time? Because I think it looks really good and to keep things consistent with the rest of the subdivision back there. That would just, the only suggestion I have, look at the rest of these things, they look great otherwise.
Thank you. So Mike Sabatoni with Ryan Homes. When you're looking at the map, the green is what is being discussed right now. So the majority of the corner lots are orange, which are privately owned by an individual person, or one person owns a number of them in there. I think we have one corner lot up front, but that looks like that's the only one, lot 13.
Looks like you got 21 and 37 also.
Yeah, 29.
21 is already built, and along with 37. Any of the S's were built by Pulte Homes a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
So you have one?
We have one, yeah.
Okay, all right.
My question is more of an attorney question, and I might not know the answer to this, but the letter that we received from the homeowners association does say regarding color monotony, we recognize the concerns related to the prevalence of blue and gray tones. To address this, we have worked collaboratively to establish a plan that includes predetermined color selections for specific home lots, ensuring a diverse and visually appealing streetscape. So I guess my question to you, sir, is have you approved color schemes per the lots on the 41 separate lots?
We've agreed to do that. We haven't specified them yet, but we've
Okay.
agreed to work with the HOA on specific colors for specific lots.
And do we have to do that through here because it's a
No.
requirement for the lot?
Yes. You're gonna work with the HOA through the CCRs?
Yeah.
Okay. So no, I didn't find that. We don't zone for color. That's just a general rule. So if you work through the, can you send me a copy, if you can stick around after the meeting? I'll send me a copy of the proposals going back and forth and we can follow it. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine, because we're not attending this evening anyway.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I think it looks great, and I'm grateful to Ryan Homes for purchasing those lots. I know the first time they came in back in 2021, just didn't want any part of those rear-loaded lots, so I'm grateful, and I'm sure that obviously it seems like the subdivision, the HOA is very supportive of this as well.
Yeah, we'd like to see it finished as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions?
What about these two other items that you mentioned in the letter, the HOA letter?
Okay.
Preservation
The alleys.
of alleys and replacement of remaining alleys.
Okay, so so Danny can address that. I don't know if you've talked to Ryan Homes about this particular item, the replacement of alleys.
Yeah, we are gonna have our attorney look into this further to see what actions can and could be, are even possible as far as the village getting involved with replacement of the alleys. Typically, it's HOA, private property, the village is not involved with the alleys, so we're gonna have to look into that a little further to see how that will be addressed.
Any other discussion? Architectural standards look good by the board? Okay. All right, Danny, so you work with our attorney and Ryan Homes and then just bring it back for approval. Thank you. Okay, next we have a text amendment for some uses of the PUD. Danny's still up.
So we have received an application from the fire department looking to develop their Denny Road property that they have. They're wishing to construct a training site per se. It would have multiple buildings and it would be developed in phases over a course of years. Looking at our PUD ordinance, it makes sense. The most logical route to develop this site would be through a PUD. Looking at our PUD ordinance, we do not address civic use PUDs. We address residential, industrial, commercial. And diving deeper into it, it really does not address the civic use, which is going to be the sole use for this PUD. So staff is requesting that the village board discuss us possibly doing a text amendment to address civic use PUDs. One example of how it does not fit in our PUD ordinance as how they're wishing to develop it is the zoning will remain E1 on the property because fire department training facilities are permitted as special use in E1 districts. So it makes most sense to keep it as an E1 in that area. And if you look at the residential PUD requirements, it specifically states that no other uses shall be built until homes are built. There will be no homes built in this PUD, and with that requirement, we can't deviate from that, so that's just an example of why we need to address a civic use PUD in our ordinance. But we are looking for your direction if you wish for us to move forward with preparing this ordinance, or this text amendment.
Is that the only issue though that's just preventing it from moving forward?
There's a number of things that, because the way it's outlined, you can't deviate from a lot of things like timing and building materials, which they wish to do a burn tower. There's a lot of different things that are restricted with our PUD ordinance. So if we address it with the civic use PUD, we'd be able to address a lot of these concerns.
So like, or an example of an accessory structure without a primary.
Right.
I think that makes sense. If it does.
Well, they can't even go through the process unless the village board, so it's in front of you to decide if you want to take this forward as an amendment, so that can go to planning commission, so that they can actually apply, which they actually, I think they might have to postpone their public hearing, just depending on this, because this would have to go first.
We can do their public hearing, from my understanding, with our village floor, our previous village attorney. And we can go forward with the public hearing, we just wouldn't be able to bring it to the board for any approvals until the text amendment was.
Can you send me and Michael the documents with regards to, or regarding this?
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Is the board, though, ultimately amenable to addressing the text amendment for civic uses within a PUD?
I guess I'm wondering how would they do the public hearing with regard to the list of exceptions if we don't have the code in place? Because you have to do a list of
Yeah,
exceptions.
exactly. So generally a PUD has, and again, I am not, we were just a,
I'll just be.
we were just a, hello?
It wasn't.
Okay. Hello? All right.
The Michael gauge, and
Just talk, just talk.
All right. So we were, obviously we are newly appointed. We have not familiarized ourselves with your codes as much as I can to speak intelligently in this, but I will try, hopefully not embarrass myself. But generally, there are a list of changes that you need for a PUD, and that's why you don't just go in for a text amendment or a zoning variance. Right, and without that, I don't know how you could go forward and reasonably ask your plan commission, your zoning board of appeals, to say weigh in on this up until you have this in the packets. That's not saying it's not there. And that's why I asked if you could email it to us so we could take a look at it. But the trustee makes an excellent point.
And-
If we don't have it, we can't go forward.
And we did discuss with the fire department that we may have to
Right.
continue their public hearing.
So they already did their
Yeah.
certified
Yes.
mailing, so they can open as,
So we would
Postpone.
open, recess, so they don't have to do
Right.
posting and publication and mailing again. We would obviously have to do posting under the Open Meetings Act, but that's how we could start it off, and then they could supplement. Again, I don't know if it's common practice to supplement applications as they come in. or not.
We've had applications continued
Okay.
previously, and
To supplement.
sometimes with
Okay.
feedback from the plan commission to bring it back and address the concerns from the commission.
Got it, okay.
I
So
don't
if-
want to slow you down, chief, but I mean, I just don't know how they would do it.
I'm taking a clock here.
You all right, I'm taking the clock?
Yes, we have contractors ready to go. We're just pending this process. So this was the process that was recommended to us.
Yeah.
Hey, Chief, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I think this makes the most sense with the PUD, so you can get a lot of those other things just done quickly with the PUD. It's just getting the public hearing and all that in line.
if we get the ball rolling, Chief, I don't think the intent of anyone on this board is to slow down the process or to stop your contractors. Again, I haven't been here very long, but from what I get from the intent of the board and department heads, is to keep this moving, but make sure all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So again, if you want to stick around for 5 minutes afterwards, you can talk to the three of us. We'll make sure we get you on the right path. You'll probably have to supplement what you've already put in, but between you and your attorneys, I'm sure we'll get it taken care of.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, Michael, Commercial Property Enhancement Program.
Village President Cohen and Village Trustees, I'm presenting proposed revisions to the Commercial Property Enhancement Program, known as CPEP. The program was launched in the fall of '22, providing grants for improvements to downtown commercial properties. To date, the Village Board has approved grants for Fireside Grill, Four Seasons Development, and Rockin's Dojo. The fourth application for 214 South Main will come before you for approval at the next Village Board meeting. That application was submitted under the current criteria. The key proposed revisions would add planters, window boxes, benches, and trash receptacles as eligible expenses, but remove driveways, parking areas, and roofing from the list of eligible expenses. The current criteria and a red line version have been provided to you. In addition, it is recommended that the review committee include both the village president and a trustee appointed by the village president. The review committee would make the recommendations on the grant application to the full village board. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Michael. So as a refresher, when our last application came forward, there were some things that were questioned by trustees and myself about some of the things in practical purposes during application versus in concept. So it was brought back, the board asked you to bring it back, review it, and you have your red line document in front of you. So that's for the history on it. So any questions out of the board?
So I was talking with Michael about this with regard to a certain property that was wanting to repaint their facility, and he said it didn't apply to him. I guess I'm of the mind that if it's going to be a substantial enough project that it's going to be up to $20,000 or up to $10,000 that we would apply, I feel like we should be able to include some of that in there, whether it's at a percentage of it, maybe at 25%, but the whole point of this is to encourage these businesses to make these improvements. And it just came to my mind that I think maybe we should include that. And if it's not, at a 50% like the other stuff, maybe it's at 25%, maybe it's at 10% or whatever. Because I don't want to just pay somebody to repaint something that needs to be repainted. But if there's something that's going to, or at least give us some discretion to say yes.
I think
something would come up.
the biggest thing behind it in its original concept was, it was part of our discussion that I was with staff on, was we want it written in such a way that code enforcement issues are not eligible for CPAP qualification. Right? So that's kind of how the lens that we looked at it through. And here's an example. So say a business wants to change out some windows, but they are changing out deteriorating windows that would be a maintenance issue, not necessarily code enforcement, but maybe it's a maintenance issue. And maybe you all have a different opinion about this. My thought was, well, if you're changing out windows, we want you to make an architecturally different improvement. Versus if I have a straight double hung window with no window panes whatsoever, and that window needs to be replaced, and I'm putting in a straight double hung window with no architectural interest, well then in my mind you haven't made a visual improvement to the structure. You've made a maintenance improvement to the structure because maybe the window was drafty, but you haven't But if you had bad windows and you needed to replace your windows, and you improved the aesthetic of your window, and maybe you have panes on the top and something on the bottom, but there's some sort of architectural interest that has changed. My opinion to Michael was, well, that's different then, because then they'll likely have to make all of the window replacement so that their windows match. But it's an enhanced improvement over what they had before. I don't know if you all agree with me on that concept, but that was my thought.
Go ahead, Justin.
I was gonna say, can we just put in there that this won't include any?
Yeah, I think we need to remove repair and rehabilitation, or repair and replacement on a lot of those items. And President Conan's point, Quantum Sign, they had a project where they're replacing a sign from Wrigleyville, and it had to be identical to what was removed. So to your point, you know, somebody might want to replace a window, but we don't have it yet. There's a if a historical society is formed, or it's a historic district, you might not be able to change it. But to your point, I don't think a window should just be replaced because it's drafty. So.
Well, and it's an enhancement, it's not a maintenance program, it's an enhancement program. So I think that's what we would want to differentiate, that there's a legitimate improvement, enhancement that's going on to the property. And I think that was a comment that was brought up, was we didn't want to pay people to just do what they should be doing under general maintenance cost of business. We want them to be demonstrating an upgrade. But to that end, and I don't know if we have any, if someone wanted to change their roof out while they were replacing it, and it was something that was seen, and they wanted to move from asphalt to cedar or something else because they think it looks better on their business, I would think that would be an enhancement. But I don't have any suggestions, unfortunately, as far as how to change the verbiage to define that. It's a lot easier to say, look, we're not covering roofs, than to say roofs well but, windows well but, painting well but, right? So maybe painting, and I see what Trustee White's saying, is maybe on some of these things we can tier it, where instead of paying at 100%, we say, okay, well, yes, you're repainting, but you're going with some sort of enamel or some other material instead that's going to beautify and enhance the building. You're not just painting it. Or maybe we don't. I don't know. I mean, if someone decides to put vinyl siding instead of repainting, is that an enhancement? I guess beauty is in the mind of the beholder at that point in time.
Maybe you change the language from repair and replace to enhance.
Yeah, I think that might be best, because.
But it all comes back to us anyway, right?
It does. But I think what he's trying to do, and what he needs to do, is when he's talking to business owners, he needs to say whether or not something would qualify for the board's consideration. And that's the challenge he's in. He's looking for direction from all of us to modify this in a way that he can present it to businesses when those opportunities arise.
Yeah, I don't wanna do it's gotta be painted anyway, hey, I'll get the village to help pay for it.
Right.
We don't
Right.
want that.
Right.
You
No.
know? But if it's, hey, if I'm looking to replace my roof, like your example, but it's gonna cost way too much to do this thing that's, the cedar shakes, which is gonna look really nice. That might be something, and maybe we could cover, our enhancement may cover the difference. And I don't know, but I don't want it to be, I'll put this off because until I can get this maintenance, until I get the village to pay for part of it.
I think part of it is the language, Michael, just the repair replacement language that's in there lends itself to maintenance. I think that's the first thing I'm hearing from the board. I think while we understand the intention when you're presenting it, but again, it goes back to all of these things, even exterior lighting. Exterior lighting, if you want to upgrade your light fixtures, if you want to take your facade from this little itty bitty out of scale light that exists, well, you can repair that. Or you might decide that you want to run gas through that and it's got a gas lantern now on the outside. That's an enhancement. And it doesn't have to be that drastic of an enhancement. So just so you understand I don't know what the right language is, if anybody has a recommendation on the language, maybe it's just enhancement of these
Yeah,
items.
I think I'm just mentally looking through repair, replace, or installation, enhancement of awnings and canopies, enhancement of exterior lighting, enhancement of commercial signs.
Yeah,
Right, because that's definitely what we did with the restaurant,
100%.
right? That was a clear enhancement.
Huge.
And I'm thinking that that we need to put on there that any reimbursement or any approval is subject to the discretion of the board.
Yes, okay.
Because this kind of almost entitles it, I think.
Can I,
And I'm just kind of looking at it.
Of course you can.
so I'm on an island apparently tonight on this, I disagree. And so, looking through this and being part of the beginning of this, our thought process was pretty simple. It was to find, just to make any building in town, a business owner, make the building better, make it look better, to attract more people to come here. Our thought, or I thought it was at least, was to lessen the financial burden on the business owners in town to do maybe some of those simple maintenance that they could not afford, to make things look nicer within the village. You know, I believe that driving through town and looking at a roof that needs repair, but it's got pretty planter boxes on it, doesn't seem to make sense to me. I'd rather have the roof repaired and provide that business owner additional cash to maybe do some of those other smaller things on the property. So I would prefer to revisit this as, if we do these things for you, then you're required to do some other upkeep items. But I think removing, the driveway or a roof or these large ticket items, as Trustee White has brought up, if they're making an investment of $20,000, $30,000 for a roof, I don't see why a $10,000 grant from us is not acceptable. They're beautifying their business. It might not be the planter box, it might not be those items, but in my mind, the thought of this beautification, the commercial property enhancement program, was just to make any building in this town look nicer as you drive through, and encourage future development, and encourage other businesses to come into town. So I think I think we should change some of this. I understand we don't want people just to say, hey, I need to repaint my building, we're gonna have the village pay for it. But if the building needs to be painted and the business owner doesn't have the cash for whatever reason, I think it should be an acceptable ask for us to put through. So that's my.
Can I make a quick comment?
Of course you can.
So I think when we went through this 2 years ago, on the original criteria and what I'm hearing now, I think the thrust of the discussions we've had was that if you're replacing or repairing something, but it's going to be the same as what it was before, that's considered maintenance. If you're upgrading it, and I prefer the word upgrade, if like 214 South Main, they're actually replacing the windows with a higher quality, so they're upgrading the windows, not just repairing and replacing them. So the issue for the village board is, are we okay with someone making a repair or replacement, and it's the same as what it was before, just repaired or replaced? Or do we want it to be upgraded in some way? I guess that's the direction I'm looking for.
The upgrading, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The upgrading is creating a financial burden for a business owner who's coming here asking for help financially to begin with.
Mhm.
We're putting an undue burden on these business owners, and we're saying, well, yeah, we'll give you money, but you're also, on these large items, you're also going to have to spend all this additional cash. I think that as you drive by a business and the business needs new windows, and the business owner is taking it upon themselves to come here and say, hey, I need new windows for my business, it only ups the value of the property with new windows in it. I guess, I'm confused I'm just confused on why we care so much on what we deem is acceptable for them to use. If they're beautifying their property, I think I'm okay with it. It's making it better, and
Okay, can I just say one thing about it real quick? I think we're trying to put too many ducks in a row in this document, and I think that's the gray area. So Michael's trying to have a document that encompasses all the things that are eligible. And I think because the document has these eligibility items in there, the end user then thinks it's granting permission. And we're losing sight of the fact that it still has to come in front of this body for approval. So as much as you're looking for items on paper, I think it's creating the challenge at the same time. I think that the intent should be here. I think that you have to look as an economic development director for those opportunities and know the parameters, but don't sell it as soon as you do this is a done deal. It needs to
Which I do not do.
I know you don't, but I think sometimes when it's in writing and it has this language, they're like, oh, my light fixture is hanging from the wall, I put a new one up, it totally qualifies. I think that the discretion is really what the board is looking for, is does this meet really the enhancement? I totally understand your point. Not everything is going to be, we all have a different opinion about what enhancement looks like, so that's for the discussion of the village board. But I believe what's happening here is too much language is put in this document, and that's almost dictating the process versus the end user knowing that the process really is determined here. I don't know how you all think about that, but that's my thought. Because I don't disagree, but we did have some other businesses that asked for painting.
Trustee Lindy, were you gonna comment?
Well, Jen said a lot of what I was thinking. I don't think it should be used as a maintenance issue. Quite frankly, I'd rather take the money, if everyone wanted to use it for just maintenance, I'd rather put that money into maintenance on our sidewalks and our roads.
So as a small business owner, a retired small business owner now, my property was in disrepair, and I needed to fix some windows and let's say some other issues, some lights hanging off, and I could get a grant from the town. The additional money that would have been spent there, I can then reinvest back into my business, maybe my employees. So I think that was the concept of this, was to keep additional money in the pockets of the business owners, not so much like, hey, you can afford to pay this, but we're trying to help you make your business better and thrive here, and have more businesses come into the village to build shop and maybe take some of these other buildings that aren't really in the best shape and start a business here and have us help them. Maybe they can't afford it, but we would hope that they reinvest that money back into their business or their employees. So I think we're putting too much into that. I think it's fine if you come to us and say, I need this, and it matches what we think is good to beautify that business, then it should pass.
I mean, there's maintenance, there's code issues. If you got peeling paint, that's something you need to deal with regardless. If you need to replace your windows because they're broken, you need to replace your windows because they're broken. That's not on us to pay for it.
We can always decline it.
I think
After discussion, I kind of agree with Trustee Bonnie.
Yeah, but there's a difference here. I think the biggest concept is first and foremost, just because somebody has property maintenance issue does not mean that they necessarily need income. I think there's a disconnect there. Just because something's in disrepair or we don't like the aesthetics of it doesn't mean that that property owner can't afford it. It might just mean that they are neglectful. So I think you assume under that scenario, because I can think of several properties in town, I would love them to buy into an enhancement program with us and make physical changes to the exterior of their building, and I know they can afford it. So I don't want to correlate the two. I think there's a difference. But I think I go back to the fact that it needs to be a little bit more, not gray, but not everything. This is too detailed, and I think it lends itself to the reader saying, I'm going to get awarded this. And I think the board is looking for more discretion in what they award.
If I may, I think in red, under reimbursable costs, it says all work must represent an enhancement to the exterior of the property. I think that's a key.
Mm-hmm.
And then say that, eligible reimbursements include rehabilitation to the building exterior, addressing structural deficiencies, improvement to windows, doors, and all that, but taking out the repair and replacement. Because I think that lends too much to the maintenance. But if they realize it's an enhancement project, then they could work on it. So they could still do a door, they could still do a window if it enhances
Can I make one more comment?
Yes, Michael, but I also would say, based on what I'm hearing from the board too, is they don't want to limit painting as not being an option. They would like to include it at their discretion on whether they would consider painting.
I mean, even if it is a driveway or a parking lot, you know, at least if we, so this has a 90-day window on it. And I think if we just set it up so that, look, if somebody wants to make an enhancement, they want the village to participate in that, come before the board, tell us what you want to do, tell us your circumstances, and let us make the decision of, yes, go ahead with it, or, you know what, we'd love you to go ahead with it, but we're not going to participate in those costs. Gives us the discretion to
My only concern is that the process we have set up now, where Danny and I go out to meet the potential applicant, answer questions for them, eyeball the property, because if you look at this last sheet in the original criteria, we're asking them to do more than just come before the village board with an idea. We're asking for architectural plans, construction drawings, cost estimates. I hate for someone to go through that, put that time and expense in, and then without giving them some direction, is this got a chance? So I think we have to, I want to make sure we're not putting someone.
I think we have to treat this almost like an application from a developer. They come in front of the village board with a concept plan before they spend any money on architectural drawings or anything else. And they ask the village board, would this be something that you would consider before they go do those things? And then the formal application comes in. That way they're not spending any money on any drawings. We're asking developers to do that now on a pre-concept plan before they actually go do any engineered drawings.
And Michael, you're going to talk to these people, or Danny, well beforehand. They can, you know, you can send us something that says, you know what, this person's going to be coming in looking for this. It gives us an opportunity to drive by the property, to look at it, and get an idea on our own of.
So maybe what we should do then is change this so that if they are going to come before the village board with an idea, we have to tell them what is it you have to bring with you. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
Could you provide a map showing which properties fall into this program? So
Yeah, we have a listing. I'll be happy to send that.
or include it with this?
Yeah, the original program listed all the properties that are eligible by address. I'll get that to you.
Again, I don't need it. It just should be a part of this.
Yeah, yes, it should be.
Okay. Any other discussion? So it sounds like, Michael, you still need this, take out your repair and replace as discussed and make sure enhancement is in there. Still have a working document with items. I would also add at village board discretion, it sounds like painting, just so that you have a template that can be used, that you have a reference point, Danny has a reference point, but the recommendation would be to bring it, you can amend this and bring it back for village board to approve, but at the same token, amend the policy and how you move this forward, which is really a concept plan to the village board before actual application.
Got it.
So that they don't waste too much time. So that would be part of it, just as a process. Okay? Thank you, Michael. Okay, up next, I have the land cash donation ordinance. Scott.
Thank you. So a little background. Matt and I started to review the land cash ordinance. It hasn't been updated, I believe, since 1986. And as we were working through it, there were a few items we found that we thought needed to be addressed in short order. And then we would go back and work on the entire ordinance itself, bring in the park district, bring in the school district, and work together to bring back an overarching review at some point later this year. But the items that we'd like to discuss, so the village board to discuss tonight and offer direction on, were specifically, and they're redlined in the ordinance itself, attached here to the packet. One is that currently the school district is specifically and not allowed to use the funds for maintenance or repairs to school buildings or other structures under their control. And what we've heard multiple times from the school district administration, and they've also mentioned at their meetings, that they have plenty of land. That is not an issue. They are not looking at this time, from my understanding, to build a new school. However, they are behind, or they have quite the capital that they're facing, costs to repair buildings, and so we thought this was something that should be considered by the village board potentially. However, we didn't think that salaries and related expenses were a good idea to use for land cash, as the land cash is not a reoccurring cost, a reoccurring revenue. It is a one-time, fee that would be levied with new homes, as you know. That's why that was entered in there as a clause. Additionally, there is no section that discusses how and when the payment would be made to the village from the developer. So we wanted to clarify and give two options. One, that either be played at the time that the final plat is approved, or it could be approved, or it could be paid at the time of permit, which has been the preference in our experience recently from developers, as the cost can be quite high, and if they're able to recover it at the time of permit, that was something that they were more favorable to. But those are the short-term items that we'd like direction on and happy to discuss.
Thank you, Scott. Discussion.
I'm in favor with your changes for not letting salaries be included in maintenance, but I am reluctant to say that the payments can be made over the time of the building permits, because, the school district might want to build an addition now before the subdivision is built out. So I think that area of the ordinance needs some work.
I would look at that though too and say, that is probably 1,000% accurate. If you stifle the development from happening, you're not getting a dollar anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a kind of a double-edged sword in saying we're still requiring the fee, but if we put too much on the upfront cost, then they're like, well, the cost of entry is too high, so we can't come.
So is it 50%?
What do you see when you do it?
Well, we're not developers, we're home builders.
Are you having to pay that
So-
cash donation as part of the permit?
No, they have a school impact fee that you pay, but it's not the land cash contribution.
There's a bigger discussion that needs to happen, I would say. I've been in some conversations with staff regarding land cash and its practical purposes. And I'm sure our new attorneys, and Michael can weigh in on how they're seeing developments throughout other communities. But Matt has been doing it, it's a big lift for him, and he's been doing a lot of, he's getting information from other communities. One community in North Aurora considered a parks donation a trail. So when you go research North Aurora and you look at what their land cash is for parks, there's a fee. It might be $101,000 or something. I don't know if North Aurora was that high, but they have a substantial fee. But then the fee is waived through the donation of land, and they donated a trail. So I think in every community it's a little bit different. Some are doing it where they're doing a land cash on permit, so they have their impact fee and then they have land cash. Staff obviously is trying to address these concerns today, but there is a bigger dive going into actually the land cash dollar amount of ordinance and what constitutes a donation. Is it improved land? Is it a vacant land? What's the value of each one? Because in the PDD of Settlers Ridge, there was a land cash donation, but they didn't even do that area, so I technically don't even know if that's truly been.
The land has not been donated to the park district or the school district.
Right.
Yeah,
But in principle, it was supposed to be, but it wasn't because there's not a subdivision plat there, right, to donate.
Does our ordinance have a different amount based on the number of bedrooms?
Yes.
So.
Everybody's using the same table.
Yeah. So it's that table that.
1996?
Right, okay. So, I mean, if we charge it at the time of platting, we don't know if it's gonna be a 3 or a 4 or a 5 bedroom.
Isn't it based on projected population?
No, I don't think it is.
It has a bedroom, it does have a bedroom count.
So we've typically done a split of the bedroom counts across the development, and then just split it out by percentage to average it out across what the chart would allow for. There'd be a certain number of 2, 3, 4, 5 bedroom homes, and then average it to get a total amount for that. That was the methodology that we've used, because you're right, when they're planning it out, they don't know which home is going to be built until the permit's pulled oftentimes. We don't know.
I think it'd be good to see what Elburn and the other communities are doing that feed into Keeneland.
We can.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Melbourne does no land cash.
Nothing.
They don't.
They don't. And then, but
They just
Maple
give you
Park does, isn't it a combination? Maple Park
Yeah.
is 2,200.
Maple Park has 2,200 with Keeneland, and then one of their subdivisions has 3,200.
That might be that one in the TIF district, you know?
I deny that.
Okay. But yeah, it's 2,200, but that's their land cash and they don't have an impact then. I'm almost positive that $2,200 number where we just changed our ordinance permit-wide so that the school district received $1,250 or 18. What did we put on the impact for? 1220, okay. So I guess when we were talking, we were looking at the Lennar subdivision because that's really close and in front of us today, and said based on, Matt, help me out, but based on the homes and how many bedrooms, based on like single family versus townhome, you're gonna have some 2-bedroom townhome and townhome in a different calculation. But when we ran the land cash number as an applicable permit fee payable at permit, across all 332 units, the number that we came back with was roughly $900,000 in land cash. Separate of their, or did I have that combined, do you remember?
So the school was $500,000 and the parks was $600,000.
I don't think it was combined, is that right?
So, yeah, 600,000 for parks and 500,000 for.
Oh, so is that just the land cash or is that impact
Just
too?
land cash.
Okay, so then maybe with impact is where I was doing my math, I don't know. Anyway, point being is that we haven't been doing it on permit. A lot of times when developments have come in, it's a promise of land that they don't need. What we know that they need is money. And so what we're trying to do, and I hope that maybe our staff can do, or myself with Elburn, is hope that they're doing the same thing with their developments, but you know, every development and their hurdles are different, so.
Yes, Michael, what
Yeah.
his experience has been with different municipalities, I think probably seen
We're really
quite a
testing
bit
them
of it.
tonight.
Well, the trends are changing, obviously, as the industry's been more challenged since 2008. Obviously, I think there is a lot more emphasis, I think, with regards to what you're discussing tonight, you know, with regards to trying to have a little more flexibility and providing some, you know, a little more flexibility, which will maintain your market advantage. Obviously, you want to attract the right developers from a residential perspective, so incorporating some flexibility in there is critically important. So, I mean, obviously, the builders compete with other municipalities. So I think the mayor's point of trying to look at what your adjacent communities are doing with regards to land cash is important. But I think the point you raised, that I think across the board, districts don't need land because they have an excess of land. I see that across with regards to the villages I've worked for, the villages I've worked with. So they're looking for the question about, obviously, cash for long-term maintenance or renovation.
Has anybody talked to the school district or the park district about, I mean, I'm sure their preference is to have as much cash up front as they
Yes,
can.
they don't want land. They have land at Harder Middle School, they have land there if they needed to grow.
It's not a question of whether they get land or cash. To me, it's a question of when do you make them pay it.
Again,
That's
I
my
think
only- that's
first
my
of all,
only
this is not, this is at the village's discretion. As you can see, Elburn doesn't do it, we want to do it. So that's the first thing. Secondly, it's like, I go back to the original point, which is, we need to do what we need to do to get the development here. And it doesn't no one any good if the development never comes because we put such a high barrier in even to enter the market. And I think we're seeing that. I just want to remind the board, we still have a battle with Fox Metro. Okay, they raised us by 29%. That becomes another barrier that is hit to them. So you have to consider, while we can look at all the other communities and what they're doing, we have to look at our community and the fees that we have that prevent development from happening. And so we're looking at it from all perspectives. And I just want to remind you as we go through this, the other hurdles that are there beyond the land cash. So I know Ryan Homes does not do the actual ground development, but I would ask you on the spot, do you know if you're paying any land cash fees as part of permit in any developments that in any communities that you may be in? And you might not know that.
Yeah, I don't know specifically, but I can certainly find out, because we obviously have a pretty big, broad observation here in the county, so we can certainly get back and follow up with you.
Thank you.
Maybe it's installments, based on a percentage of lots sold.
I think it's a negotiation. I know
Yeah.
that whatever the board decides is that number,
Yeah.
Again, it's really part of it, like how much can we get up front versus how much you can apply to permit. So it's a discussion that needs to take place with them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, as property is annexed, it'll be dealt with that way.
Yeah.
Correct.
Maybe that's what you put in
Generally,
C.
but,
For annexation agreement?
yeah, maybe, well, not, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
'cause
still
that-
property that's been annexed that's not developed, it's like some of the Weidner stuff like that.
Oh, I see.
Lennar, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the Lennar,
Yeah.
so right, Bridge is gonna go,
Yeah.
is annexed and would have to be, it has not paid any land cash or given any land over, so that one would not.
Maybe the thing to do is to keep it in, and then when you vote on it, we can decide whether or not to pull it out, maybe we'll have some answers by that.
Does that annexation agreement terminate since it's about 20 years or 20 years?
I think they want to move it forward before termination. They don't want to wait for it to expire. I think it has a year left on it. Annexation for Timbercrest?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is, yeah.
Like April or March of 26, I believe.
So they're asking for a development agreement to cover some of the items in the annexation. The annexation agreement is pre-trashed, so there are items in there that they're asking to change.
Okay, so for direction to the village, to staff on these particular items, do you have issue with the way, I mean, this is an and/or, home based on final plat subdivision. This allows for flexibility in item C on page 172. Are you fine with the flexibility being left in there at that time and leaving it to the discretion of the staff working with the developer to negotiate the best, so that ultimately the fee is being paid?
Yeah.
So just put at as determined by the village?
It's negotiated between the village and developer.
No, I think
Here, right here. You don't- Yeah, you have it.
it's gonna end up as a negotiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying from an ordinance.
Can you send us land cash ordinance out to us?
It's in the packet.
This is.
And this is red line. The red line one is in the
Yeah.
packet.
That's not the whole.
Oh, the whole
Yeah,
thing. It's
yeah.
not,
He
okay.
doesn't
Yeah.
have the tables and all that.
I'm sorry, yeah, we'll absolutely send that.
But I think staff can work on that.
Yeah,
I like the flexibility.
I think the flexibility is important. We have to, and ultimately it gets approved by the village board.
That's not
Right.
Well, this doesn't say that it's as determined by us.
Yeah, they need to work
Yeah.
on the language
Yeah.
and bring it back to us.
Okay,
Okay. But I'm good with the other changes too.
okay. Other changes are good? Okay. Thank you all. All right, up next, staff reports. Scott,
Nothing to add.
any questions for Scott? Okay, hearing none. Sorry. I'm sorry. Shuffling the paper. I'm just gonna go around with ours then. Chief,
I don't have anything else. I think I have any questions.
does anyone have any questions for Chief? I'm sorry? That's what's happening to me right now. I just realized that. I flipped it around. I'm like, oh, that's what's going on.
Chief, any update on the accident out in Dugan Woods last fall?
Yes, I'm in contact with the family, just spoke with them actually yesterday. So it's still moving forward. We have some lab work that still hasn't returned back. We've met with the state attorney's office, and so we're
It's still
it's still under further investigation.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief? Hearing none. Michael?
Thank you. The Starbucks has broken ground on their new facility, or sorry, GMX real estate broke ground on the Starbucks facility. The groundbreaking ceremony was held. GMX was there, a Starbucks representative, or Midwest real estate manager, also the Grand C-Store, which are the property owners were there, as well as village officials. The latest I'm hearing on the time frame, they hope they have the business
it's open for customers in August. That's their requirement. Secondly, this Friday morning is the Sugar Grove Economic Development Corporation will be hosting its annual State of the Village event. Pleased to say that the event is sold out. We have a record turnout of 176, along with a record turnout of 19 sponsors. And of course, the main event will be the State of the Village presentation by President Conan. There will also be remarks by the Lansing Community College President, Dr. Ryan Knettle, and John Meeker, who's the chairman of the EDC board, will serve as the moderator. So looking forward to that. That's my report.
Thank you, Michael.
Any update on the daycare center, when that's going to open?
Yes, they're actually getting very, very close to opening. There was just some things they had to correct internally. They've got a lot of people signed up to enroll, so I believe it's going to be this month they will be actually opening the doors.
And where's Clean Edge Construction to finish their project? So it's working with Clean Edge Construction to finish their project? It's in the report.
That might be in there.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Michael's like, I don't know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
the double sided got a little confusing.
I'm familiar with the project, it's just that they're working with Chris and the Community Development Department on the project itself.
Thank you, Michael. Here, I'll let you go first, Trustee Michaels. Danny.
I have nothing to add. We are working through Clean Edge, getting their project underway. I know there's some issues that they were going back and forth with the fire department and our building inspector on. I think those might have finally been resolved this week, so hopefully they get moving.
What is it?
Is that cilantro?
No, Clean Edge Construction. They are remodeling
Is that the
the
second
Bartolo
one?
property.
The cabinet maker off of Galena and 56 there. The old dentist, is it a dentist? No,
I think it's a plastic.
plastic surgeon. Yeah.
Oh.
It's that project. Yeah, so they're remodeling to do a cabinet showroom.
Oh,
He's a builder.
Yeah.
Northville.
yeah.
Can I add one thing? So they're relocating their construction business from Yorkville, Clean Edge, as well as opening up a custom cabinetry business in the same facility.
Is that in the village?
It's in the
It
village.
is.
Thank you. Any further questions for Danny? Hearing none. Brad?
Nothing to add.
Okay, any questions for Brad? Okay. Matt?
Just wanted to kind of update on the federal disbursement freeze that we had gotten an email about, so I sent out reports of information. It has since been rescinded for now, but we did get notice based on our current grant schedule because all STP funding and all ITEP funding is federally funded. So those were the projects that would be, and we have roughly 8 to 9 currently. So that would be part of that if that ever happened again, but all of those programs, the only ones that we currently have that are not are DCEO, those are state funded.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Matt? Okay. Hearing none, trustee reports. Trustee Michaels.
Nothing to report. Good luck on Friday.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Trustee White.
Attended the groundbreaking, met the, the area manager for Starbucks?
Yeah, what was,
She's
Angela?
head of Midwest United States real estate.
Yeah, very nice woman. Looking forward to having them in town. Glad to hear they're gonna be opening up in August. And I think they said they're gonna keep the Jewel
Yes.
Starbucks
They are.
as well. So,
Thank you. Trustee Lindy.
One, I just want to say I'm excited about all the new businesses that are opening up. I'm excited, especially right near my house. Got the Starbucks and the cilantro, and then the daycare center is coming up.
And then you can get your oil changed.
I know! I'm really excited about how the village is growing. I did attend the library board meeting on the 22nd. We're talking about some maintenance they're going to be doing. One of the exciting things that I think is potential is about, they were talking about the Christmas tree being relocated or having the Christmas tree lighting being done at the library.
Yes.
So I've been excited about that, and I think that would be awesome because then it would be bring people into the library.
They're doing much better, I would say.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yep. Girl Scout cookies in the area. You ordered some. They should be getting delivered to you soon. So.
I got one. Thank you. Now I just have to drop a check off. Okay. Trustee Herring.
And the next conversation is be on the lookout for your cookie booths.
Yes.
Yes.
Piggybacking off of what Trustee Lindy said, also with the daycare, if nothing else, landscaping will be done on the regular, so that's awesome. But I also wanted to talk about the business side of things in Sugar Grove with the continued success of the EDC State of the Village, with the enhancement programs, positive comments from developers, working with the board, with staff. The first 8 years I was on this village board, during the campaign cycles, that was a question that we received during the candidate forums. Sugar Grove, somebody in the crowd consistently said Sugar Grove was not business friendly. And there are so many positives that are happening around the village right now that it really looks like we are, the comments that we're receiving and the things that we're seeing, we are business friendly, and that's a great change. So just something that I noticed, and I think that's all I got.
Thank you, Trustee Herring. Any updates going on at the school?
Referendum meetings are happening. I think there's some committees being formed, and they're doing stuff to like restructure bonds, to do stuff to make the improvements, to get the funds without raising taxes, which I think is very positive. There are some trying to connect voting for the referendum to things that we've done here in Sugar Grove, which is odd because they're two completely separate things. So to make the connection, I think, is just looking to drag people through the mud, and it's not really realistic, but social media. But other than that, I think there's a lot of positive talk, and again, if they can do it by restructuring and not raising taxes, it's a solid. You're leaving the school district in a better place than where it currently is. I don't see a reason not to vote for it.
Thank you. Trustee Herring. Trustee Brown.
Nothing to add.
Trustee Shonda.
Nothing for me. I've been sick as a dog.
Welcome back.
I know. Thank you all for understanding that. With me back to the land of the living, and I missed another park district meeting, so I have to follow up with them later because of my illness.
Okay, well, I'll talk about that too. So, Parks real quick. I'm sorry. Are you?
I'm good.
Okay. Last we have President's report, so I'll touch base and kind of go backwards for a few of the items that you all brought forward. So with parks specifically, and Brad's staff report, having the bridge, the pedestrian bridge crossing, hopefully sometime late May. I'll work with Scott Nadeau. I know I spoke to him last Thursday night. I attended the Cornwall meeting. He wants to have a big to-do with that crossing, so we'll look at scheduling. Whatever he wants to do, I'm perfectly good with. We'll support him. But one of the concepts was a big bike crossing, everybody on bikes, and Dr. Cannell from Wabatsi, get some people because they're a partner in this event, from the Forest Preserve, and do kind of a tour of the trail, but everybody kind of crosses that bridge at the ribbon cutting. Probably best served, I think it was brought up at the enhancement committee today, best served on a Saturday for best enrollment with kids and families. So that's something that I will work with him on. The Christmas, tree lighting, just so everybody has a history. Brad, I'll let you kind of give an update on it.
So the enhancement committee has been talking about, and we've been talking about with Kiwanis Group, the holiday tree lighting that happens with the holiday in the Grove and the pancake breakfast. The tree itself, do you want to give us a status update on the health of that tree? It's no good. It's no good. It's barely hanging on. And so a couple of things. One, Brad keeps telling me every year, and so does his staff, so Chris and Brad are like, this thing is dying. It's dying, it's dying. So we're gonna have to come up with an alternate spot for a Christmas tree. It's not the best location, or a holiday tree. It's not the best location right there at 47 and Cross. Obviously, staff has put up barricades, so that's how the discussion came up, moving it to the library, and then having the night before be the hot chocolate and things at the library. So that's the backstory as to the potential of working with them in the library to get a new community tree that will last for many years to come, natural tree planted in the ground. So they're working on that. I did meet with the community enhancement group today with Tracy and Scott. Scott did review all the upcoming development projects that are coming forward, and so they did weigh in. I'm sure Scott will bring that back when those particular development items come back. He'll give you their feedback. I did work through the budget, first pass with the budget. I just want to remind the board, budget is starting next meeting, so make sure you have a good solid base. You got lucky with this meeting at an hour and a half, just so you know. budget, I just whispered in his ear a little bit ago, I go, this might be my shortest meeting. Budget meeting is going to start. Matt will get us through it like he always does, rather quickly, but with a lot of information, so be prepared for that. Thank you for the well wishes on Friday. We do have my fourth community state of the village. They've changed and ebb and flowed every single year. First one was right after COVID, and it was a small crowd at the library. I think I wore a mask the entire time I gave it. So that will be at Wabansie. We're expecting, I think, attendance of roughly 176 people. So we have a good breakfast for that. And because it is put on by the Economic Development Corporation, it is a paid breakfast for people to attend. I wanted to offer the community, last time we put a recording out. We're going to do the recording as well, and we will put out a recording. But if someone wanted to do an in-person, I will do the same presentation on Wednesday of next week, the 12th, at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. at the library. So I'll give the same presentation in person at the library. Starbucks groundbreaking was wonderful. Thank you, Michael, for your efforts, and GMX and Starbucks and Mr. Graham for, I don't know if everybody's aware, but Michael Graham owns the building and the lot. So this is really a good partnership between the landowner, who's then investing in the infrastructure in the building, and then creating tenant lease space for the Starbucks, and Michael's now tasked to fill the other side of that building. So that's exciting here. We got a lot going on. It'll be a busy spring like it always is, especially with budgets and election season. So everyone, I just want to thank you all. It was a great meeting, good discussion, and hopefully the staff has good direction leading this meeting. So I would motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first by trustee White, second by trustee Thomas. Roll call, please, Tracy.
Trustee White?
No.
Trustee Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye.
Trustee Garrett?
No.
Trustee Lonnie?
Motion carried. I think that was a 3. Was that split?
4-2.
4-2. Thank
Make
you.
you vote.
Thank you. Well, I keep waiting for them to do that to me. It hasn't happened yet. Thank you.
Everyone's falling asleep. You won't know.
He's like, what's happening? They don't know.
That's right.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. That's funny. All right.
Don't forget that. Start discussing who you're
Please go back to you.
Doing out. Oh, they're cheap today? Okay. distance, yeah. They're all welcome at the public hearing now.
What's happening at your wedding?
That's great. I was looking at my Nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you.
Nice to meet you. Looking forward to So this is Teresa, we get the rubber bands back again.
Oh, I see. Part of us. Okay, are you, there is, it's Rachel, put it in. He's a trustee who signed up on a street sign. She was an artist.